Hi guys, and welcome to another episode of Milfoil Monday. This is where we go over a invasive or non-invasive plant, its origin, how it's got here, its characteristics, why it's a problem, and as you know, my favorite segment, can it be bottom buried? This week on Milfoil Monday, we're going over the Pennywort. This week, we're going over the Pennywort. The Pennywort is actually a native plant and is not noxious. While it can grow to be a pest in some areas, and there are ways to control it, it's technically native and non-noxious. So, where did it originate from? It's originally from North America, spread out to the northwest corner, but then also the southeast part of the United States. It's also native to parts of Africa. So, where does it grow? Well, it grows in North America and Africa, as we already talked about, but where it really likes to grow is slow-moving water. It prefers still, but slow-moving will do. It grows in marshes, ponds, small lakes, and streams. It's a favorite in irrigation ditches and in shallow canals. It actually can be a problem in some of these areas. We were actually contracted to help with a job out in Bellevue, Washington, where there was a shallow canal maintained by the state, and Pennywort was actually growing from both sides of the canal, overtaking the entire thing. It was shallow to begin with, and the Pennywort made it completely unusable. This canal was actually used for recreation. So how does it reproduce? Well, the Pennywort reproduces by seeds, creeping stems, and by stem fragments. So by breaking it up and controlling it manually, you can actually help it propagate. It's not a problem if the area is small and you are cautious of what you're doing. We would know how to do this appropriately. But if you're unprepared, unskilled, or unaware, it can stick to your boat, stick to your shoes, stick to anything else you might take to another body of water. While it is native and is part of a healthy ecosystem, if you were to go to a small private pond, stream, or irrigation ditch or something like that, not that you really would, it would be a problem and just something to be aware of. So why is it a problem? Well, normally it's not. It's actually considered part of a healthy ecosystem. It only becomes really a problem when it overgrows, like in the area we just discussed, or when another plant, water hyacinth, has been dealt with. When that plant has been completely eradicated from a system, normally it can kind of contain the growth because it grows in similar areas but not the exact same of the Pennywort. Another characteristic of the Pennywort is that it forms these dense floating mats. There's actually two types of Pennywort. One is the floating Pennywort, hence why it floats in mats on the surface of lakes, rivers, and streams. And the other is more of the marsh Pennywort. Both grow from banks of shallow water bodies and do stretch out over the top of them. Once they do form these big mats, when Pennywort overgrows these smaller canals, it just forms these dense mats, as we talked about, and they can be a foot, between 6 inches to a foot deep, and they can become large, and the weight is just too much to move. When they become something like this, you really need a big boat or a big dredging machine to really come in and rip it out. It can be done manually, but the amount of work and labor that goes into it is just financially irresponsible, and it just is not feasible when you can just get a big dredging boat to come in and take it out. So, you know my favorite segment, can it be bottom buried? And the answer is, kind of. So because the plant does start growing on the banks of rivers and streams, if you actually remove it off, so say let's start with a dense mat, and the best solution would be to come in, mechanically remove it with a weed harvester or dredge machine, and then accompany that with a team of skilled divers and landscape professionals to come in and remove the stems from the banks. What you can do is, because they do have root systems that do follow those banks, what you can do is come in with a bottom barrier and kind of layer over that to kind of kill the root system. And if you do that effectively and do come back during the growing season to check up on the growth, you can effectively use a bottom barrier to control this plant. That being said, it has to be accompanied with manual removal. And it does take a long time, but it can be done, and it can restore your irrigations, canals, ditches, or recreational streams. Another option, not totally recommended, we've discussed this prior, but it's a drawdown. What you can do if you do have a large but shallow pond is draw it down, so lower the level of the water until all of the bottom dirt is exposed. That itself doesn't kill it, but what you need to do then after is bring in a heavy piece of equipment, or a lot of people, really your choice and budget, and then just scrape the top layer of soil out and just kind of get that out of there, make sure all root systems are gone. That would be the only other effective way to treat this with a drawdown. There are chemical alternatives, and again, you know our stance of them. We don't totally agree with them just because in 5 or 6 years there's usually some sort of negative externality that is yet to be discovered that these chemicals do, but there are a range of them that do help affect and kill the pennywort. Hey guys, well thank you for turning in to another Milfoil Monday. The company is the Lake Defense Force. My name is Joe, and we wish you a milfoil-free day.